I wonder where you see this going in the next couple of weeks. We saw about 250 airstrikes across Gaza, frankly, and civilians running to the south where they were told to evacuate and running into trouble as they get to the Egyptian border. If this continues over the coming weeks, how concerned are you about preserving civilian lives, knowing how many have already been lost?
Oh, good to be with you, Joe. Thank you. Always concerned. Always concerned. One civilian casualty on the Palestinian side is one civilian casualty too many. And I want to be very clear about that. Israel has a moral obligation as a moral Western country with a moral Western army to reduce as much as possible the civilian casualties on the enemy side, on the side we're fighting, Hamas in Gaza. But we also have a strategic interest. Keep in mind that every Palestinian casualty increases the pressure on Israel to agree to a ceasefire. And a ceasefire means simply that Hamas gets away with mass murder and that Israel loses. We have 250,000 people who can't go back to their homes tonight because they can't go back to the border because they know that if Hamas wins, Hamas will reorganize, will rearm, and mount another strike. And their own leaders actually say they're going to do that. So that's what a ceasefire means. We have every reason, moral and strategic, to reduce those civilian casualties. Our problem is we're dealing with an enemy who hides behind those civilians. And when we tell civilians to move, we urge them to move from a combat area to a safe area, Hamas moves with them. Even today, Hamas was firing rockets at Tel Aviv. I'm in southern Tel Aviv. The rockets came right over the house. Right, this looks like a library, but it's actually my bomb shelter. And we saw the rockets right outside the window to my left here. Those rockets were fired from inside safe zones in Gaza. So this is the terrible quandary we're facing in Gaza. So we want to move as quickly as possible. We want to reduce also the casualty levels on our soldier side. We had 7 soldiers killed today. It's a very high level for the state of Israel. We've now passed 100 soldiers killed in this operation so far. And so we want to proceed cautiously to reduce casualties both on the civilian side, Palestinian side, and on the military, the Israeli side. At the end of the day, Israel still has the same goal. It has to destroy Hamas. Without destroying Hamas, large swaths of Israel will remain uninhabitable. We will not be able to have internal security, won't be able to have regional security or deterrence power. And frankly, there won't be any chance for peace because the Palestinians will remain under the thumb of Hamas.
Ambassador, when you talk about protecting civilians, Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke about this over the weekend, and he talked about there needs to be a premium put on civilians, and the intent is there on the Israeli side, but it is not always manifesting themselves. Talked about this gap between what the United States would like to see and the reality on the ground. How do you close that gap?
Well, first of all, I'm not quite sure what the United States wants to see. And again, I'm not a spokesman for the Israeli government, so I'm a citizen, and I'm listening to the comments by the Secretary of State, and I know him quite well, I respect him and like him. But when they say that entirely too many Palestinians have been killed in this war, what is an acceptable number? I don't know. And I get the sense that any number would be unacceptable, sort of politically. Unacceptable for us, morally and strategically, as I made the point earlier. But I think that Israel is doing above and beyond what any army has done in the past. And that includes the U.S. Army fighting in Mosul and Fallujah. The level of the ratio of civilian to military casualties in this war is exceptionally low. I know that the Hamas Gaza Health Ministry, whatever oxymoron that is, keeps on putting out a figure, but that figure includes 6,000 to 7,000 terrorists who have been killed, and it kills the hundreds and maybe thousands of Palestinians who have been killed by Palestinian rockets that have fallen short. About 30% of their rockets fall short on Palestinian neighborhoods. So if you take those two out, you're going to have a very different figure. It's still too high. I want to make very clear about it. Any Palestinian figure is too high. We're doing our best, but we're still dealing with an enemy that is hiding behind the civilian population. We're going into Khan Yunis, a city in the south. There's an entire underground network of tunnels going down hundreds of meters beneath that city. Hamas uses the entire city as a human shield. It's extraordinary, and it's very difficult.
It is. Hamas ambassador says none of the hostages still being held will leave Gaza alive unless its demands for prisoner releases are met by Israel. To what extent are talks underway right now to create another truce, a pause So we might have more hostages released, or has that ship sailed?
Well, I understand that there are no negotiations going on right now, but I would expect, and this is just a gut feeling, that the negotiations will start soon as Israel's military noose continues to close around Hamas leadership. And they will once again sue to negotiate to gain time. Remember, Hamas wants that ceasefire. That's the most important thing Hamas can get. That ceasefire means survival. It means Hamas wins, Israel loses. So if they can gain time having a temporary ceasefire, and then one temporary ceasefire after the next, so the world says, okay, you've had a bunch of temporary ceasefires, why not have a permanent ceasefire? That's what Hamas wants. Hamas' big problem, Joe, is going to be this. What we know about what the hostages, if they are alive, have endured has been absolutely intolerable, insane, I would say satanic. We're talking about torture, rape, starvation, and I think Hamas is going to be very afraid to release hostages who will tell the world about what they endured in Hamas captivity. That's going to be a big check on Hamas's ability to negotiate.